Have you ever wondered how your favorite app just knows what you're going to want to buy next? Well, I can tell you it's not magic, it's data. And in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and find out exactly where all that data comes from.
You know that feeling, right? You're just thinking about, I don't know, a new pair of running shoes, and then suddenly an ad for that exact pair pops up on your phone. It's kind of creepy, but it feels like these brands know what we want, sometimes even before we do.
So how in the world do they do it? The secret, as you might have guessed, is data. But here's the thing, it's not just about having a ton of data. It's about getting the right data from the right places. It all starts with the source.
But what if the data is, well, wrong? Because having tons of data is one thing, but having good data is everything. So what happens when a company relies on information that's just plain incorrect? Well, the consequences can actually be pretty huge.
Think about the real-world impact here. Just imagine a company has a list of customer addresses, but a bunch of them are outdated. That one little mistake leads to failed deliveries. Now, all of a sudden, they're wasting money on shipping, and even worse, they're creating unhappy customers who are probably never going to buy from them again. See? Bad data isn't just a spreadsheet problem. It's a real-life business problem. And to avoid all those headaches, we need to talk about this idea of data quality. Just think of it like a report card for your information. Is it accurate? Is it complete? Is it actually relevant to what you're trying to do? High-quality data is the bedrock for making smart decisions.
Okay, so where do we get this high-quality data? Let's start building what I like to call our data toolkit. The first two major tools we're going to put in there are internal and external data sources.
And honestly, the difference is pretty much what it sounds like. Internal data is all the stuff a company creates and keeps in-house. External data is everything it gathers from the big, wide world outside. Let's dig into that a little more.
So, simply put, internal data is information the company already has. It's like the story of the business told through its own day-to-day activities. It is an absolute gold mine of insights that's just sitting there, waiting to be discovered.
So what does this look like? Well, sales records from the cash register tell a company exactly what's selling and what's not. Even something like employee performance reviews, that counts. Or think about a factory, right? Sensors on the machines can track how much they're producing. By looking at this internal data, a manager could spot a machine that's slowing down and get it fixed before it causes a major backup.
All right, now let's flip the coin and talk about external data. This is all the information you grab from the outside world. It gives you context, helping a company understand where it fits in the market and what its customers are really thinking.
So in the real world, a company might buy a market research report to see what its competitors are up to. Or maybe a bank analyzes government economic data to figure out things like inflation and interest rates. And of course, there's the big one, social media, where companies can see what people are saying about their brand in real time.
You might be thinking, okay, but how do they get all those tweets automatically? Well, they often use something called an API. The easiest way to think about an API is like a digital messenger. It lets one computer program talk to another and ask for information. So a brand's software can use Twitter's API to basically say, hey, send me every single new tweet that mentions my product. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, tool time again. Let's add two more essential tools to our data toolkit. Now, this next pair isn't about where the data comes from, but about who collected it. We're talking about primary versus secondary data.
And again, this distinction is really straightforward. Primary data is like DIY data. You go out and collect it yourself for a very specific reason. Secondary data is more like going to the library. Somebody else already did all the hard work of collecting it, and you're just borrowing it for your own use.
Primary data is brand new information you collect yourself, straight from the source. The huge advantage here is that you're in total control. You can make sure it's perfectly designed to answer your exact question. The only catch? Yeah, it can take a lot more time and money to get.
So common examples are things like customer satisfaction surveys or a focus group where you get people's reactions to a new product. A really powerful example comes from healthcare. Clinical trials collect incredibly specific patient data to test if a new drug works. That is pure, first-hand primary data collection.
And that brings us to secondary data. This is information that's already out there in the world. Somebody else, some other organization, collected it for their own reasons. But hey, it just so happens to be useful for you too. The big win here is that it's often way cheaper and faster to get your hands out. The downside is it might not be a perfect match for what you need.
For instance, a marketing team might use national census data to understand the population of a city before they open a new store.
Or they might use a big industry report from a consulting firm to get a handle on e-commerce trends. They didn't conduct the census or write the report, but they can absolutely use the insights.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. So let's take a quick breath and do a super fast recap of the 4 key data sources we've just talked about.
So here's the simple breakdown. Internal data comes from inside your organization, like sales records. External data comes from the outside world, like social media. Primary data is what you collect yourself, like a survey. And secondary data is what you reuse from someone else, like government statistics. Nailing these 4 types is really the first big step to becoming data savvy.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Honestly, it all circles back to quality. Knowing where your data comes from, is it internal, external, primary, or secondary, is the secret to judging its quality. And if you start with high-quality data, you're going to end up making much, much better decisions. And I'll just leave you with this one thought to chew on. As you go about the rest of your day, think about it. What data did you create today? Maybe it was a post on social media or buying your morning coffee. And what data did you consume? A news article? A weather forecast? You are a part of this data world every single day. Thanks so much for tuning in.